Hare Krishna. So yesterday we discussed about Lord Krishna's appearance in Mathura, and then he is brought to Gokul Mahavan. Krishna performing pastimes in his childhood period is a very special aspect of remembrance for the devotees. And therefore, Srimad Bhagavatam glorifies Krishna's appearance right at the end of the 9th canto. And it is described, Tadeva Ramyam Ruchiram Navam Navam Tadeva Shashvan Manaso Mahotsavam Tadeva Shokaranava Shoshanam Drinam Yaduttama Shloka Yashonugyate. By hearing pastimes about Lord Krishna along with his devotees in Sri Vrindavan Dham, every moment appears to be like a festival. It is a festival for the mind. Tadeva shoka aranava shoshanam drinam. The ocean of distress is evaporated by hearing these pastimes. Therefore we come to Sri Vrindavan Dham to purify our mind, to absorb our mind, to completely fix our mind in getting inspired to serve and please Krishna. Therefore Chaitanya Charitamrita describes, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Anyera hridayaman moraman Vrindavan mane bane eka kori jani. Mahaprabhu says, my mind is non-different from Vrindavan. So, we have come to Vrindavan to fix our mind in Krishna. In the initial days, Prabhupada brought many devotees to Vrindavan. There was one person who was just becoming a devotee, and he was staying here with Srila Prabhupada. He was not a fully fixed up devotee, but he was just taking interest in the process. He came up to Prabhupada and he started asking Srila Prabhupada some questions. And he said, Srila Prabhupada, if somebody in Vrindavan eats meat, what will be his position in the next life? So Prabhupada said, in the next life, he will become a hog. Then he said, this hippie, he said, Srila Prabhupada, if somebody engages in illicit sex in Vrindavan, what will happen to him in the next life? Prabhupada said, he'll become a dog or a pigeon. Then he said, Srila Prabhupada, if someone smokes ganja on the bank of Yamuna, what will happen to him in the next life? And Prabhupada said, he'll become a hippie in California. And Prabhupada said, you have come here to Vrindavan and your mind is contemplating all kinds of sense gratification. So what's the point of coming here? So therefore in many temples in Vrindavan they write, Apne joote, chappal aur man bahar rakho. Come inside with the mind focused only on Krishna. And that's the essence of this practice of Krishna consciousness, of serving in Vrindavan, because we are here to experience that sweetness. The sweetness experienced in trying to serve Krishna, leaving aside all of one's own selfish desires. And so, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is bringing about this discourse of how we can serve Lord Krishna in Vrindavan. Vrindavan Govardhan, Vrindavan Govardhan, Yamuna Pulinavan, Sei Kunje Rasadika Lila, Sei Brajer Brajajan Mata Pita Bandhugan, Ei Bada Kemane Pasarila. So Mahaprabhu is saying in the mood of Srimati Radharani that I am hankering to experience the sweetness of my relationship with you, O Krishna, in Vrindavan. But you are sitting here in Kurukshetra in a royal frame. Have you forgotten Vrindavan, Govardhan, Yamuna, and all the forests, and all the kunjas there? Have you forgotten the Brajavasis? Have you forgotten Mata, Pita, Bandhugan? Bada Chitra, it is so astonishing. Kemane Pasarila. How can you forget this? And so, Krishna, when he reciprocates with his devotees in Vrindavan, that has a special flavor of sweetness. Leela, Premna, Priyadhikyam, Madhuryam Venu Rupayoho, Iti Asadharanam Proktam Govindascha Chatushtayam. Compared to Vishnu, who has 60 qualities, the extra 4 qualities which Krishna has, which is manifested in Vrindavan exclusively, is Krishna's pastimes with his devotees, Krishna's Leela Premna, Krishna's reciprocation with his devotees, Krishna's pastimes, Krishna's reciprocation with the devotees, Krishna's beauty, and Krishna's playing of flute. Venu Rupayoho iti asadharanam proktam. This is the essence of all sweetness. So therefore, we come to Vrindavan to experience that sweetness. Prabhupada was in Fogla Ashram when the construction of the Krishna Balram temple site was going on. And Prabhupada in the morning would go in his car. And as Prabhupada's car was passing by, on the way between Krishna Balram temple and Fogla Ashram, there was a sweet shop. And some devotees had left early in the morning, and they were invited by this sweet shop owner that I'll be very honored if you honor the first sweets of the day. If I give, with love to all of you and you honor it, it will be a very auspicious day for me. And he had rasgulla, rasmalai, sandesh, barfi, peda, jalebi. And when you make such an offer to the devotees, it doesn't take too much to accept it. So they said, oh, Brajavasi is offering chalo. And they started honoring. And it was right on the street. And as they were honoring, Prabhupada's car passed by. They didn't expect Prabhupada to come so early. So they turned their backs, hoping that Prabhupada doesn't see. The car passed by. So they were kind of satisfied. Oh, Prabhupada didn't see. The car went ahead, stopped, and made reverse turn. And came right in front of where they were. And they could not resist. They had to turn around. And everything happened so suddenly that you can't gulp everything. So somebody had a rasgulla here, sandesh here, jalebi in hand, caught by surprise. And then Prabhupada stopped and he rolled the window down. He looked at each and every one and what is in their hand and mouth. He sized them up carefully, top to bottom. And suddenly Prabhupada's eyes became wide. And then Prabhupada suddenly smiled and he said, Bengali sweets, essential for life. So the devotees felt very relieved that, oh, Prabhupada didn't chastise us. So 2 to 3 years later, Prabhupada was in California doing a college program. He came out and then he saw there was a book table. Next to the book table, they had set up a Mahaprasadam stall. So one devotee was here, who was in that, episode. So as soon as Prabhupada came out after the lecture, he immediately picked up some sandesh and gave it to Prabhupada. And he said, Srila Prabhupada, Bengali sweets. Prabhupada picked up Chaitanya Charitamrita and said, "This is real Bengali sweet." So therefore, Kaviraj Goswami says, "Jeba nahi bujhe seha, shunite shunite seha, ki adbhuta chaitanya charitra. Krishne upajibe priti janibe rosera riti, shunile hoye bada hita." He says that someone may think after hearing the Chaitanya Charitamrita, I do not understand Bengali, I do not understand Sanskrit. Even if I hear, what is the point? So he says that shunite shunite se. Even if you can't understand, keep hearing, because it is very adbhuta. What will happen if you keep hearing? Krishne upajibe priti. One will develop priti towards Krishna. Janibe rasera riti. One will develop rasa towards Krishna. One will understand the mellows of Krishna bhakti. Say hoye bada hoye hita. Say shune bada hoye hita. By hearing, you will be benefited. So that is the process, that by hearing these pastimes of Krishna in Vrindavan, one will develop great attraction towards Krishna. So there is prema, there is, prema in Vaikuntha, there is prema in Goloka, there is prema towards Krishna directly, there is prema towards Krishna in Vrindavan. So amongst pastimes in Vrindavan, Mathura and Dwarka, the 11 years where Krishna performed pastimes in Vrindavan, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come to give us that aspiration. Aradhya Bhagavan Brajesha Tanayas Tadhama Vrindavanam. That we are aspiring to worship and please Krishna in Vrindavan, Nandanandan Shyam Sundar Krishna. And in order to develop attraction and faith towards Krishna in Vrindavan, the Nectar of Devotion recommends doing two things. First, hear about Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan, hearing the Brajalila. And second, regularly worshipping and having darshan of Radha Shyam Sundar, Radha Krishna, Krishna in his threefold bending form with a flute in his hand. So worship of Radha Krishna deities and hearing Dasham Skanda Srimad Bhagavatam, especially the Vrindavan pastimes. These are two most potent aspects for developing faith and Shraddha towards Krishna as Shyam Sundar or Nandanandan. So, now that Vasudeva meets Nanda Maharaj, and Nanda Maharaj has just escaped from one of the most ecstatic festivals, which is Nandotsav. Nobody likes to take a break from increasing ecstasy. One may take a break from something which they find as austere. Right? As they say that when you do something which is of austerity, then every moment appears like a yuga. And if you are doing something in which your ecstasy is increasing, even yuga appears to be a moment. When you are chanting your 16 rounds, the 2 hours appear like 8 hours. When you are eating Mahaprasad sweet rice, right? Even if you drink one full glass, it appears to be a drop. It is relative. So, Krishna is with Nanda Maharaj in Gokul. So, how much of ecstasy is experiencing in the Nandotsav? But he decides, Krishna consciousness is not my pleasure. Krishna consciousness is Krishna's pleasure. So, this reversal of the consciousness takes several lifetimes. So, that's why devotees are the most ambitious people in creation, because they have taken responsibility of attempting one of the most difficult of all efforts, to reverse from this thoughts of selfishness to an experience of selflessness is extremely difficult. So Nanda Maharaj is a person who's only focused on what is best for Krishna. So he comes to Vasudeva right in the middle of that, and then he meets him. Naikatra priya samvasa suhrdam chitra karmanam oghena vyuhamananam plavanam srotaso yatha. Nanda Maharaj and Vasudeva, they are discussing, and Vasudeva says, my dear Nanda Maharaj, I have so much affection for you. We love each other so much, but somehow by the time factor, both of us are never allowed to spend time with each other. That's Krishna's time factor. Naikatra priya samvasa suhrdam chitra karmanam. Some people you really like. As soon as you come in their association, your energy grows. But somehow, circumstances do not allow you to spend time. There are others, you just do not want to see their face. There are others whom you feel Brahmaji has created just to humble you. And you just want to stay away from them as much as possible. But then, the time factor will organize that you spend so much time with them. So, it is not within our control. Oghena vyuhamananam plavanam srotaso yatha. So he says, the nature of relationships in this world is such that when there are sticks which are floating in a flowing river, those sticks may sometimes come together, those sticks may sometimes separate, there is no control. And like that, relationships in this world. We come together for some time and then we are thrown apart. And so both Nanda Maharaj and Vasudeva have experienced so many difficulties and challenges, but they appreciate that we are not in control, we are dependent. The father of Krishna, the fathers of Krishna are acknowledging the fact that we are not independent, we are always dependent. And with this mood of dependence, we can actually appreciate that yes, we have to reciprocate with the Lord's will and accept the Lord's will at any moment. And so Bhishma Dev says, Sarvam kalakritam manye bhavatam chaidapriyam sapalo yadvashe loko vayor iva ghanavali. Just like clouds look gigantic, the clouds look impressive in the sky, but the clouds are dragged away simply by a gust of wind. The clouds cannot hold themselves. Just like that, even the most powerful person who may be creating history today becomes just part of history as one of the names. And so, nobody remembers all their assets. Nobody remembers what they have accumulated in their lifetime. But people only remember personalities who have given more than they have taken in life. And therefore, the Srimad Bhagavatam is inspiring us to transform our character and personality and attitude in such a way that we develop the attitude of giving, of sharing, of creating pleasure in people's lives, transforming them in the midst of prosperity and adversity. Vasudeva is going through so much of adversity, but he's simply thinking about 100th day is going to come and Krishna's name giving should happen, and he sends Gargacharya. We'll see that episode. But, the mood is, Vasudeva is not thinking, oh, I lost 6 sons, I lost 6 sons, what did I go through? Why did this happen to me? No, he's thinking about how I can serve Krishna at this moment. And so he's the one who's warning Nanda Maharaj, please be careful, some demons may come and attack. So therefore, the essence of Vedic literatures is how we can serve Krishna's will, the Vaishnava's will, in the midst of both prosperity and adversity. So Krishna will test us by giving us prosperity, and Krishna will test us by giving us adversity. In prosperity, you become so happy, so blissful. You become filled with pride. I am the doer. In adversity, you become filled with moroseness, thinking that, oh, I am a failure. So both success and failure are in the hands of the Supreme Lord. And therefore, we simply become instruments in the hands of the Lord and His devotees. The practice of Krishna consciousness is how we can practice to make our desires and our mind flexible, to be in synergy with the devotee's will. And that's what we see here in the example of Vasudeva and Nanda Maharaj. Prabhupada's disciple, Hayagriva Prabhu, in New Vrindavan, Prabhupada wanted to make him the president. He did not want to become the president. And he heard from different sources that Prabhupada is wanting to make me. So he prepared an entire note of how he is disqualified to become president and kept it in his pocket, prepared to make a rebuttal, and he came to meet Prabhupada. And Prabhupada smiled at him, and Prabhupada said, Hayagriva, I have some service for you. So Hayagriva Prabhu was ready. He knew what was coming. So he was about to take out the note from his pocket. Yes, Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada said, Hayagriva, I want you to take sannyas. Hayagriva Prabhu thought he didn't hear properly. Prabhupada, what did you say? I want you to take sannyas. Hayagriva Prabhu said, but Prabhupada, I just got married. I got a 1-year-old son. Prabhupada said, no problem. Krishna will take care. You take sannyas. Hayagriva Prabhu said, Prabhupada, it's not possible. What has happened? Have I displeased you? What's going on? I'm ready to serve. I'm ready to do anything. But Prabhupada said, don't worry. Krishna will take care. Take sannyas. Hayagriva Prabhu said, Prabhupada, I can do anything, but I will not take sannyas. Prabhupada said, become temple president. So, to suddenly change our plans is not easy. It is the most difficult. Why we have come to Vrindavan? Because in Vrindavan, the Brajvasis are a group of people who are the fastest in changing their plans to match Krishna's plans. Nobody can be faster than them. And therefore, because we are slow and we are reluctant and we become nervous even when we understand that our plans are going to be changed. So we need to take blessings from these Brajvasis. So the word Braj means movement. Braj means movement. So Braj basically means the plain where all the devotees in Vrindavan, their desires move with the highest speed, with the greatest flexibility to match Krishna's desire. Krishna's desires keep moving, and the Brajvasis' desires also keep moving in perfect synchrony, in perfect harmony, in perfect reciprocation with Krishna's will. So there is constant movement from both sides. So when two movements happen in synchrony, it is known as a dance. So that is the essence of the Rasa Leela. The Rasa Leela represents that dance of the desires of the Brajvasis in perfect steps with Krishna's will. And therefore, love is tested by two things. Love is tested by separation and love is tested by uncertainty. And so the Brajavasis go through uncertainty and separation, but their love does not come down. That's why they are the highest. That's why they are the billionaires of love. And that's why we have come here as paupers to beg for some fraction of the love from them, for getting that grant. Right? Pragada premere ei swabhava achar nija dukha bigna dirno kore vichar. In every relationship there is scarcity, impediment, discomfort and unhappiness. In spite of this, when the relationship does not change, it is known as love. Because as soon as you hear the word love, immediately you think about all the Bollywood stories, love stories. Dil bekrar, dil ye, dil wo, dil to pagal hai, tum bhi pagal ho. 3 घंटा बर्बाद करने आए. So that love is not love. Right? I tell the story of Radhanath Swami when we started the Govinda's restaurant. He was insistent, we should have pizza. This is 2004. And we had no clue what is pizza. Somebody used to make pizza in our ashram with bread and put some tomato ketchup और ऊपर बैंगन फ्राई करके डाल देता और बोलते थे यही pizza. So I told Maharaj, pizza, I don't think we can sell that. It is not worth selling. Maharaj said, which pizza are you talking about? That which you guys feed me? And I said, yeah, that is the only pizza we know. Maharaj said, that is not pizza, that is a perverted reflection of pizza. And then he opened his suitcase, and from his suitcase he brought out, a small box and gave it to me and said, read what is written. So I read. It was written, artichoke hearts. I said, what is that? Maharaj said, if you don't know what is this, 50% of your life is wasted. This is an offense to pizza if you don't know this. So it is something which you put on top of the pizza when you eat in Govindas. Then he brought out another, knife, the cutter, the pizza cutter. So then he had brought it. Then he had a small diary in which he has written the recipe. So the whole pizza recipe is given to us by Radhanath Swami, by the way. So now many people will say, I'm following Radhanath Swami. गोविंदास में क्या करे थे? महाराज की सेवा करे. So he got it from Gunagrahi Maharaj. And Gunagrahi Maharaj taught it to Kaustuba Prabhu. And then Maharaj said, you take this. And then Radha Vallabh Prabhu and others, they started experimenting every day for several months. 4 or 5 months. Dinner, 8 p.m. Pizza would be served. And Maharaj would say, I can't eat alone, call some brahmacharis. So there were many volunteers who were quite eager. So, 2004 Kartik Yatra here in Gurujan Prabhu's house, finally that pizza recipe got finalized, okayed. And then, in the Govindas we started in 2005. So, he just mentioned about that. This is the authentic pizza. But till then we were calling something else as pizza. So like that, the world is using the word love very liberally, very loosely. Love story, love this, love that, I love you, you love me. Right? And majority of the people, they think love means pleasure. Love means pleasure. That's the misconception. Whereas the reality is love means pain. So as soon as people hear love is pain, they will think twice before even thinking about love. So love means the willingness to go through pain to give pleasure. So that's what Vrindavan is all about. And that's what now we see, that till Krishna appeared in Vrindavan, Gokul, Mahavan, where Nanda Maharaj, Yashoda Mai were staying, it was perfectly peaceful. No tension, no anxiety, no attacks, no terrorists. And as soon as Krishna is born, now Kamsa calls his demons and starts sending them to attack. So the first demon Kamsa sends is Putana. Putana comes dressed as a very beautiful lady, searching for all the children who have been born, because Kamsa gets the news that my killer is born, but he's roaming somewhere because, Yogamaya gave that information. And as Putana, dressed as a most bewitching beauty, she passes through Gokul Mahavan. All the ladies think it is Goddess of Fortune herself. And what to speak of anyone else, Yashoda Mai personally invites Putana and feels that my dear boy will be very blessed if he gets to drink her milk. And so Putana enters, and nobody is able to identify that this beautiful looking lady is actually a deadly demoness who's having very heavy, powerful poison smeared around her breasts to kill. So the external dress is not revealing the deadly intention being carried within. So Putana's deadly intention to kill are camouflaged by her external bewitching beauty. And as she takes Krishna upon her lap, the Srimad Bhagavatam describes, she did not realize that she is taking a deadly serpent upon her lap, or a naked sword which can destroy her. And as soon as Krishna came on Putana's lap, Krishna closed his eyes. And as soon as Krishna closed his eyes, the acharyas start discussing. Why did he close his eyes? So that's the beauty of Krishna, that even if he closes his eyes, it is a matter of debate. Right? We close our eyes every night and during lecture also. But it is not a matter of debate or discussion. It doesn't generate any excitement. But Krishna closed his eyes. So the acharyas give several reasons why he closed his eyes. First, they say Krishna closed his eyes because he saw Putana is representing ignorance. And if he kept his eyes open, by his darshan, she will be in knowledge, and then ultimately he will not be able to perform this pastime of killing her. Second, Krishna did not want to see the face of a child killer. He just felt she's abominable. Don't see her face. Third, Krishna was about to deliver her and give her position of mother in the spiritual world. But Krishna was concerned that if I give so much of unconditional mercy, if I give her a reward beyond her capacity of her own qualification, in future some people may object. Itna bhi kya? Matlab, there is no piety, nothing. Still you gave like this. What is this? So there may be some debate. So Krishna closed his eyes to search Is there some piety somewhere from the past life based on which I can give some logic? Because sometimes there is reason. Once the reason is established, then you decide. Other times you have already decided, and to support that decision, you are searching for reason. So Krishna has already decided, I am going to deliver her because she will be my main advertisement. But now I need to have supporting document. So he is closing his eyes to search for previous piety. Fourth, Chakravarti Path says, poison mixed with milk is bitter. When you drink amras, it is ecstatic. But when you drink Karela juice, sometimes you may have to close your eyes if you drink. So therefore Krishna closed his eyes because it was bitter. Fifth, another Acharya says, no, actually this is not the reason. Krishna was thinking, I am sweetness personified, and I have got an entire team of demigods who are supposed to be performing different activities. So this task of drinking poison is not my department. Poison drinking department is Shiva. So Krishna closed his eyes, and after closing his eyes, he was on a WhatsApp call with Shiva. In the sense, he was communicating to Lord Shiva that bhai, एक पार्टी यहाँ है, आ जाइए, थोड़ा विष पी जाइए, ज़्यादा क्वांटिटी नहीं है. So Krishna was trying to request Shiva. So when Shiva drinks the poison sticks to his neck, and he is known as Nilakanta, which means that if someone criticizes you, chastises you, accuses you, it is like poison. If you allow that poison of accusation and misunderstanding to go deep inside your heart, it will kill your enthusiasm. If that mistreatment which you get, accusation and chastisement, you revert back and spill the poison back and start shouting and screaming at the other person, what nonsense, you are actually like this, it will create conflict. So the poison can neither be taken deep inside, nor the poison can be spit back. The poison has to be held in the neck. So therefore, in the course of performing your devotional service, when you experience episodes, when you feel that I am being misunderstood, I am being accused, and I have been dealt with in a way which is poisonous, learn tolerance to hold those feelings in your neck like Lord Shiva, Nilakanta. And that is something which is very important. And Prabhupada, one disciple came to Prabhupada and said, Prabhupada, I am doing so much good service, still the devotees are always accusing me, finding fault. Why is that? Prabhupada said, in the last life you did not do anything good, but still you were glorified. So that is being compensated now. Right? When you did not do something, but when you were glorified, you did not complain. है कि नहीं? तब हम क्या बोलते हैं? हाँ, चलो. Krishna Kripa. One of our devotees was drafted in the US Army as a teenager and sent to Vietnam during the draft in the 60s. He was totally afraid of fighting, but still by force he was sent. He had a gun in his hand. He was afraid to even pull the trigger. So he went with his friend on a combat in a jungle, and suddenly there were gunshots, and his friend got shot and he fell on the ground. And this guy, this devotee, he became very fearful that next bullet is going to hit me. He picked up his friend's dead body, kept it in front of him, thinking, अगला लगेगा तो इसी को लगेगा, मैं बच जाऊंगा. So he kept his body right in front and kept coming back slowly and slowly. all the time keeping this as kavach, came back to his own camp, and then when he went to deposit the body, dead body, they said that he's not dead, he's alive. And the doctors revived him. He was alive and became perfectly fit. And the army gave bravery award to this devotee for saving friend from battle. And this devotee said, actually I knew under what circumstances I brought him. But when the award ceremony happened, I accepted it smilingly. And gave a few interviews also. Did not accept what was the reality. So, like that, when people misunderstand us and there is accusation, you should also know that there are episodes where we have a good experience and we are glorified. So, life is always having its balancing act. Then another reason why Krishna closed his eyes was as Krishna's intention became strong to deliver Putana. So it is described in the 8th chapter of Bhagavad Gita that there are two ways of mukti. One is through light, one is through darkness. So the way the soul is taken through the path of light is governed by Surya Dev and through the darkness by Chandra Dev. So both Chandra and Surya were in great anxiety because they were thinking, totally unqualified person is going to be delivered. This is unjust. And they were kind of protesting. So Krishna closed his eyes and he said, I do not require either because two eyes of Krishna are represented by sun and moon. He says, I don't need either of you. I will deliver her independent of both of you. Because you two are only das, I am the boss. So I will take care. And then, 7th, Krishna felt that when people look at the eyes, they can sometimes understand the intention. So, if Putana looks at Krishna's eyes and she sees, oh, Krishna has the desire to deliver me, she may become grateful and stop giving the poison. If she stops giving the poison, then she will not get killed and she will not get delivered. So Krishna closed his eyes so that she cannot understand his actual power and potency. 8th reason why Krishna closed his eyes is Krishna thought that in Ram Lila also first demon I killed was lady. And in this Dwapar Yuga also the first demon I am killing is a lady. And he felt bad. And he was thinking, why I am killing a lady? And then he closed his eyes. He didn't want to see that. Then another reason he closed his eyes is if Krishna had kept his eyes open, maybe Putana may have become upset and then understood that there is some danger and may have shouted or cried loudly and Yashoda Mai would have been disturbed. So he did not want to disturb Yashoda Mai, so kept his eyes closed. And then Krishna kept his eyes closed so that was the most favorable thing for completing the entire pastime. So these are the different, points which the acharyas discuss with each other as they are contemplating and analyzing Krishna's pastime of closing his eyes just before he killed Putana. And then Krishna started sucking the milk, and as he was sucking the milk of Putana, he realized that it is bitter, it is filled with poison, and Krishna started sucking away not only the milk but also the life of Putana. And ultimately, because of the pain which Putana went through, she expanded her body, came in a real form, and she started running here and there, but Krishna was still clinging closely to her breasts. And finally, it was so painful that she went deep into the forest, and over several miles long her body was lying down, and Krishna sucked her life air, and Krishna killed Putana. Krishna Bhagavan ki. So that was the power which Krishna had in destroying Putana, the first demon killed by Krishna. So at that point it is described that Putana instantly got delivered and got the position of mother, got the position of mother in the spiritual world. Why? Because Krishna said, here is somebody who's trying to feed me milk, taken the position of a nurse. So that is the beauty of Krishna's character. That when Krishna reciprocates, Krishna sees the small good which one has done and magnifies. So there are 6 types of vision. To see only bad. Second, to see good and bad, but to take only the bad. Third is to see good and bad, to take only the good. Fourth is to see good and bad, but to take the good. Fifth is to see only good. Sixth is to see little good and magnify it. So from only bad, good and bad, and to take the bad, and from that point onwards to see little good, and magnify. So it begins with little bad, to see little bad and magnify it. To see good and bad, then to see only bad, then to see good and bad and to take bad, then to see good and bad and take good, then only see good and then to see little good and magnify it. So this last one is what in the 4th canto Bhagavatam is described as the sadhu. Right? Sadhu. So Lord Shiva is described to be in this category by Sati. To see little good and to magnify. Best amongst the Vaishnavas. So that is exactly what we are supposed to be following and trying to become. And Krishna has this quality, to see little good and magnify it. Vaishnavera gunagrahi na dekhai dosh, koi mane vakye kore Vaishnava santosh. So the devotees may have so many qualities, some good, some bad, but Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains that you must see the primary quality. So there is the Pradhana Lakshan, Mukhya Lakshan, and the Gauna Lakshan. Mukhya means primary, Gauna means secondary. What is the primary Lakshan? The practicing devotee is surrendering to Krishna, trying sincerely, chanting Krishna's names, studying Bhagavatam, associating, following the principles. This is known as primary Lakshan. What is secondary Lakshan? How that person has his habits, his eating habits, his sleeping habits, his way of talking, his nature, his behavior. These are all secondary habits, secondary nature, secondary qualities. So Thakur Bhaktivinoda says we should only be focused on the Pradhana, primary Lakshan. And we should not offend devotees based on their Gauna Lakshan. And this is something very, very important. And that's why when Srila Prabhupada was preaching Krishna consciousness in the West, why was he so successful? Srila Prabhupada just saw the Pradhana Lakshan, that these are devotees who are willing to serve Krishna and assist me in my mission to my spiritual master. Prabhupada was just focused on that. He did not see anything, that, oh, he can't do this, they can't do this, that. He was just focused on only that portion. Prabhupada's disciples, they were only 18, 19, 20 years old when they came to Krishna consciousness. So in Jaipur, Kaushalya Devi, she organized an excellent Pandal program. Excellent response. And Prabhupada was very happy and pleased with her. And there were a group of Indian, well-wishers sitting there. Prabhupada was glorifying her. Kaushalya has done this, Kaushalya has done that. And then one of the, rich men sitting there, he couldn't tolerate much. And he said, Swamiji, yeah, she must have done this and all, but she doesn't know any Shastra. She only knows Kirtan and dance up and down. All this is fine. But your disciples don't know scripture. Prabhupada immediately said, what do you mean they don't know? She's an expert in all the Upanishads. And Prabhupada turned to Kaushalya and said, Kaushalya, chant all the Upanishads. And she was bewildered, because the only Upanishad she knew was Ishopanishad. And that too, only 5 shlokas she had memorized. And Prabhupada said, okay, start. And there were all these Indian gentlemen sitting there. And Prabhupada didn't give an opportunity also. He immediately put her on the spot. And Prabhupada said, start. So she started chanting the verses. First verse, second verse, third verse. By the time she came to the 5th verse, her heart was beating. That after that, what will happen? I'll be exposed. Prabhupada will be insulted. And then as soon as she finished the 5th verse, Prabhupada said, Bas, that means you know everything. So, this man was also, feeling insulted. Hey, what is this? So he said, but Swamiji, the way she chanted the Sanskrit verses, her pronunciation of Sanskrit was odd. What is the strange way in which she was chanting the shlokas? Pronunciation not proper. So he was finding fault. Little fault. Pronunciation is not proper. Prabhupada said, renunciation is excellent. She has given up everything and come to India. How many of you can do that? Similarly, Prabhupada, when he was in Chennai, one South Indian Brahman Pandit came to Prabhupada and said, Swamiji, your disciples, Sanskrit chanting not good. They are not at all chanting the proper way. Prabhupada said, okay, you come and stay in the temple and teach them. And for staying in the temple, you have to give up coffee. Immediately he said, their chanting is not bad. Because giving up coffee means giving up life only for many people. So it was very easy to find fault. Arey, these are like this, like this, like this, like that. But when you actually try to do something, then you realize how difficult it is. Right? And so Prabhupada was working against all odds and trying to bring people to Krishna consciousness. Because till you do something, you do not understand what is happening. Like His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj, when he was, directing the eco-village, many aspects of the eco-village were very, very difficult. We didn't even understand. But then because he was saying, we tried to do whatever is possible. And then at a certain point, he started saying that, everybody in India takes care of cows, but we should also take care of, goats and sheep. So that was like a little shocking. Goats and sheep? So yes, we should get goats and sheep. So we got goats and sheep. Then Maharaj started giving them name also. Called them Daksha and Dakshayani. 2 goats and 2 sheep were called Baba and Babaji, because they made the sound of ba, 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 ba. And some devotees were commenting, Arey, लोगों को दीक्षा नहीं मिल रही, बकरों को मिल रहा है. So then I called him one day to give some report on construction, and he said, "What about the donkeys? Why the donkeys have not come?" I said, "No, we are trying, we are trying." Maharaj said, "I know in your society the donkeys are considered abominable. There is not too much of respect, and there is hesitation on your part to bring donkeys. Is it not?" I said, "Yeah, but we will bring in future." I said, "No, now. Bring them now on faith. Do it before I come." So then, one devotee brought 2 donkeys, and then Maharaj came a few days later, and I was going to take him to the construction site to see. He said, "No, first donkeys." He came to where the donkeys are. And he went close to the donkeys ran away. Maharaj turned to me and said, "Why did the donkeys run away?" I was thinking, मुझे क्या पता, मैं गधा हूँ क्या? I can't read their mind. So I said, "I don't know." He said, "Because where previously they were kept, the human beings were mistreating. So therefore, they are afraid of human beings. Now we have to make them favorable to human beings. You will do that by brushing them every day, treating them with love, so that when they see human beings, they come to embrace them." So I said, "Who will do that?" Maharaj looked at me and said, "You." But then mercifully, we got some, local people, and they started taking care of the donkeys and brushing them and everything. So the whole thing was like too bizarre for me. And I was thinking, kya chal kya raha hai? I am from IIT, and I'm in ISKCON for so many years. I give lectures on Gita and Bhagavad. And then, one of my recent projects is taking care of Gadha. Then one of the biggest owners of the yoga school in America came, trying to see which is the best place in India where they can bring their yoga groups. So then I took them around the whole eco village, and then brought them to where these donkeys were. They looked at the donkeys and said, "Wow, donkeys!" I said, "What happened?" "You have kept donkeys. One of our best, aspects of our yoga school is animal care, compassion to animals. What do you do with these donkeys?" I said, "Nothing. They are just roaming around." So this lady said, "You don't load, different weights for them to carry around?" I said, "No, they just graze every day, all day. They are kings here, Baba." I was still having some, khunnas. कहाँ से आ गए ये गधे? And then she turned to me and turned to her as, one more important organizer, and both of them discussed, and they looked at me and said, "We have gone to so many places in India and searched for the best place where we will bring our group every year. Because we go to Costa Rica, we go to Germany, we are looking for a place in India. Because one of our topmost priorities is animal care and compassion for animals. And we see that you are giving such good treatment to donkeys, we hereby decide that we will bring our group to GEV every year." And this was in 2013. And then they started coming. They are coming every year since then till the lockdown. They are already booked for 2023. And they are the ones who sponsored the yoga studio about Goshala, and gave the idea for the Gokul. And on their insistence, we made both Gokul and the yoga studio. And when this happened, I looked at the donkeys and said, "Baba, I didn't realize their marketing genius." So sometimes you don't understand what is going on till some time passes. So similarly, when Ramchandra was crying in separation from Sita, Hanumanji was thinking, "Arey, Mahatma is supposed to be equipoised. If Ram is Mahatma, ये कैसे रो रहे हैं? Why is crying like this? This is not the symptom of equanimity. He was thinking, he didn't say. But Ramchandra caught it. He said, Beta, brahmachari. तुम तो समझोगे नहीं. So what Ram did, he realized that every question cannot be answered on the spot. Right? When you get some wisdom, when you hear a lecture, only 25% of the lecture you are going to absorb from me, from this talk directly. Another 25% you will actually understand from each other. When you actually experience reciprocation with each other. Another 25% you will experience only in due course of time. In due course of time, you will realize that with time factor. And the last 25% you will experience and understand when certain particular incident happens. And then it reveals to you that this is what is the reality. So therefore, you cannot get all the knowledge instantly. So Hanumanji was given that ring. And when the ring Hanumanji took, and then when he saw Sita Devi for the first time in Lanka, just by seeing Sita Devi, the first thought which came in Hanumanji's mind is, how could Lord Ram remain alive in separation from such a fragile, beautiful looking lady who is divinity personified? And in separation from Sita, if Ram has remained alive for so long, looks like Ram's heart is made of stone. So Hanumanji went the other way. So therefore, one of the things we should try to avoid is jump to conclusions instantly, judge prematurely, and find faults, and then regret later. So this episode of Krishna killing Putana reveals the magnanimity and compassion within Krishna's heart. That Krishna is willing to inspect and see the smallest iota of positivity towards him. And he is willing to give you all the credits for that. He is eager to catch you doing something right. And that should be the vision of practicing devotees. We should try to do something which is positive in Krishna's service. And when you are preaching to others or sharing Krishna consciousness with your friends and other members of the society, you should not be searching for what is wrong. You should be searching for what is positive which they are doing, and then highlight that. That's a very, very important element. And therefore, that Krishna decided to deliver and give position of mother and nurse to Putana in the spiritual world is such an interesting and exciting episode that when Shukadeva Goswami, when he was born from the womb of his mother, he was an impersonalist and he was walking through the forest. Vyasadeva sent his disciples to try to attract his attention towards Krishna. And his disciples chanted 2 verses from the scriptures, from the Bhagavatam, to attract the attention of Shukadeva Goswami. And the first verse was Baraha Pedam Natavara Papu Karanayo Karanikaram. The first verse was how Krishna's beauty is super excellent when he goes into the forest for grazing. So that episode describes Krishna's beauty. As soon as Shukadeva Goswami heard Krishna's beauty, his heart was attracted, enchanted. I want to develop a relationship towards him. I want to have a relationship with such a beautiful, all-attractive personality. Beauty attracts. So the description of Krishna's beauty attracted Shukadeva Goswami. But then when he heard, oh, Krishna is so super excellent in his beauty, then he thought, oh, maybe someone so supremely beautiful would not allow a relationship with anyone and everyone, because the more assets and the more opulences someone has, the more they create conditions before they can allow a relationship to happen. So therefore, it looks like assets and access don't go together. So the more assets someone has, access seems to be restricted. So he thought, do I have access to Krishna, who has such assets of beauty? So thinking about that, the disciples chanted the next verse. Aho bakiyam stanaka lakutam jigham sayapayat api asadhavi lebe gatim dhatri uchitam tatonyat kvamva dayalum sharanam brajema. That Uddhav chants this beautiful verse to Vidura. Aho bakiyam. Baki is sister of Bakasur, which is Putana. So they had a very powerful family. Just like Ravana's family. Dedicated to oppose Ram. So they were also dedicated. That was their mission, to oppose Krishna. Stanakala kutam jigham saya, with a sinful desire to kill Krishna. Lebhe gatim dhatri uchitam, but she was given the position of mother. Kamva dayalum, who can be more merciful than Krishna. Sharanam brajema, one who is willing to forgive all of one's mistakes, one who refuses to see mistakes, refuses to see faults. He only likes to see and accept something good. So therefore, when Shukadeva Goswami heard that, his heart was transformed and he said, I want to develop a relationship with Krishna. And that's how he became one. So by hearing this Putana pastime of Krishna delivering Putana, he got some understanding of Krishna's unlimited mercy and compassion. So this guna, the quality of Krishna as compassion personified, as Karuna Sindhu, brought Shukadeva Goswami from being an impersonalist to the Bhakti Marg. So whenever you come to Krishna consciousness, whichever way you come to Krishna consciousness has some positive memories in your mind. If book distribution has brought you to ISKCON, then you like book distribution. If college preaching has brought you, then you have some soft corner for that. If prasadam has brought you, then you naturally have. So like that, because Shukadeva Goswami had been brought into the Bhakti Marga by hearing the Putana Leela, Putana Mokshan Leela, so he had a special extra attachment for this Putana pastime. And therefore, if you see other Leelas of Krishna killing demons, he describes in brief. But the Putana Leela, he goes into great detail, giving descriptions of Putana's form even after she was killed and everything in great detail, because he had some deep emotion for this pastime. Putana loka balagni rakshasi rudhirasana jigham sayapi haraye stanam tattva payadharim. Shukadeva Goswami, as he is speaking, is also meditating, and he cannot comprehend how much unlimitedly merciful Krishna can be. Putana loka balagni, a demoness who was dedicated to killing, not just killing, but killing children, which is considered the worst, even amongst criminals. Those who perform crimes towards children, when they are sent to jail, within the The other murderers ostracize the child killers, or those who misbehave with the child. In their society within the jail, they are considered lowest. उनके समाज में Lok Balagni. So Putana is Balagni, the worst criminal who was killing children. Rakshasi, Rudhirasana, whose diet was only blood. Jigham Sayapi, she came with the intention to kill Krishna. Haraye, Stanam Datvap, and so she gave her stana to kill Krishna. But Padbhyam Bhakta Hridistabhyam Vandabhyam Loka Vanditaihi Angam Yasyah Samakramya Bhagavan Api Tatsthanam. Krishna with his 2 lotus feet had held on to Putana's demon form, and Krishna had held her breasts with his hand. Padbhyam, those lotus feet of Krishna, Bhakta Hridistabhyam, were worshipped within the hearts of the devotees. Vandabhyam Loka Vanditai, the 33 crore demigods are meditating on that lotus feet of Krishna. That lotus feet of Krishna was embracing Putana's body, smearing Putana's body with the dust of his feet. Angam Yasyaha Samakramya. He was actually Yatudhani Padbhyam Bhakta Hridistabhyam. In this way, he was delivering Putana and giving mercy, doing abhishek of the dust of his feet on Putana's body. Yatudhanyapi sasvargam avapa jananem gatim Krishna bhuktastana kshiraha kim uggavo numataraha. Then Shukadeva Goswami concludes by saying, if Krishna gave the position of mother to a demoness who came to kill him, what will Krishna give as reward to the gopis who are giving milk to him with love? What reward Krishna will give to the cows who are offering him milk with great affection and love? Avapa jananim gatim Krishna bhukta kshiraha kim uggavo numatara. So Shukadeva Goswami is saying, I cannot comprehend. Aur kya bach gaye? If the most sinful is given position of mother, what will happen to those who are offering with anukul bhakti? So therefore this entire pastime is orchestrated to highlight the most important principle. And what is that principle? That those who are practicing bhakti, chanting 16 rounds, trying sincerely to practice the regulative principles, trying to focus their mind and attention. And sometimes it may appear difficult. And sometimes when we fail in maintaining our standards, we become discouraged, disheartened. And we may think, forget this practice, it is so difficult. How many of you go through discouraging moments in your practice कि अरे यार बहुत difficult है, ये हो पाएगा क्या आगे चलकर, कब तक चलेगा, कोई भरोसा नहीं. But you should know that even if you have got the ability to start chanting, that itself is a great blessing. It's not easy. If only after millions of lifetimes one gets opportunity to start the process of chanting and even start practicing the principles. Mam manaradya dukkharta kutumba saktamana sasat sangarahito martyo bruddha seva parichyuta. Mahaprabhu in his Leela with Ramananda Rai and Ramanand Samvad explains, there are 4 symptoms of fortunate souls. First symptom is he gets an opportunity to worship Krishna. How many of you have got the opportunity to worship Krishna? Raise your hand. Second, Kutumba Sakta Manasa, one who has a goal in life of attaining the spiritual world and has a goal beyond just taking care of one's family and everything. He has a goal beyond death. How many of you have the goal to try to go to the spiritual world? Third, satsanga rahito martyo. The third symptom of fortune is one who has got satsanga. How many of you have got satsanga? And fourth, vriddha seva parichyuta, one who gets opportunity to serve devotees who are more experienced than them. How many of you have that opportunity? So therefore, all of you are in the category of most fortunate. But when you are alone, the mind will convince you कि भाई वो लेक्चर में कथाकार का काम ही है बोलना. ऐसा नहीं है, बहुत लफड़ा है, बहुत प्रॉब्लम है. So the mind will convince you, right? And so you should realize that, so many students who are first time coming, and what to speak of others who are already chanting and everything, we're extremely fortunate. When I was in IIT in 1992-93, when I started preaching, to bring one person to the program was a big challenge. Several weeks I was coming. I was inviting so many friends. अरे आजा यार, आजा यार. अरे ISKCON? कौन? सब कौन मारने वाले लोग हैं. So nobody came. And Bhakti Rasamrit Maharaj, he was very patient. He would never, chastise me that अरे कोई नहीं आया, फिर तुम ही आ गए. Only 2 of us or 3 of us were sitting in lecture. He would come all the way from Chopati with prasad and everything. So one day he gave the whole pastime of Jagai and Madhai. Mahaprabhu delivered Jagai, Madhai, and whole Bengal got delivered. I got inspired. मैंने कहा अब तो यार नॉर्मल लोग तो आ नहीं रहे, गए गुजरे को लेके आएंगे. So I went to my friend who was always like drunk. There are certain people like that in the hostel. So I went to him and said, ये Saturday को चलना है प्रोग्राम में. He said, कौन सा प्रोग्राम? I said, गीता का लेक्चर है. He said, पी के आया है क्या? इसको बुला रहा है मुझे. गीता क्या हो गया तुझे? I said, अरे so what? Every sinner has a future. You come and experience Gita. You hear the Amrit of Gita, you will forget all this. He said, okay, I'll come on one condition. I'll bring the bottle of liquor with me. चलेगा क्या? ISKCON allow करेगा क्या? I got confused. So then I thought, let me call the temple and ask कि मेरा एक दोस्त आएगा साथ में बोतल लेके आएगा, आपका प्रोटोकॉल्स अलाउ करता है क्या ये? So then I thought they'll tell me तुम भी मत आओ, हमारे पास लोगों की कोई कमी नहीं. So then I was thinking what to do. Then I said, okay, you come, no problem, on my guarantee. So he agreed to come. So I was very happy that at last somebody is coming. मतलब मैंने preaching किया है, प्रचार में एक आदमी को मैं बुला लिया. तो सैटरडे मॉर्निंग और प्रोग्राम वुड बी, तो बोतल लेके चला गया. छोटा वाला आता है एक, हमारे ज़माने में क्वार्टर बोलते थे. तो जीन्स के पैंट के पीछे वो लेके चला था, आधा ख़त्म कर दिया था. उसका साधना पक्का था, सुबह सुबह शुरू कर देता था. तो हॉस्टल में पहुँचे, we were about to enter. I told him, यहाँ तक आ गए भैया, कम से कम अंदर मत लेके चलो, यहाँ ऊपर खिड़की के ऊपर रख दो, दरवाजे के ऊपर जो खिड़की है वहाँ रख दो. वो बोलता है ISKCON वाला पी तो नहीं जाएगा? पागल है क्या? ये लोग तो इतने कट्टर है, चाय कॉफी तक नहीं पीते. डाउट आता है ये लोग मनुष्य हैं कि क्या है. तो अच्छा ठीक है, he kept it. And I said, मेरा भी कंडीशन है, मुंह मत खोलना, दारू की बदबू आएगी, मैं फंस जाऊंगा. So you're okay, okay. खाना मिलेगा ना लास्ट में. So he came and sat down. So then Maharaj was very happy. अरे नया आदमी आ गया. He asked him, क्या नाम है? What's your name? I gave the answer. इसका नाम है. Which year? I gave the answer. Which branch? I gave the answer. He was looking at me. What's going on? And I said, मेरा दोस्त बहुत शर्माता है. The lecture began. Halfway in the lecture, he hit me from the side. कब तक बोलेगा ये? I said, चलेगा और थोड़ा देर चलेगा. तो खाना मिलेगा क्या? So I said, ISKCON में पूरा लेक्चर सुनाने के बाद ही खिलाते हैं. So he got up, went out, finished the remaining bottle, and came in. And at the end of the lecture, Maharaj said, Mala? Mala loge? He said, हाँ. I said, अरे, are you going to do माला? माला करने वाले पागल है क्या? अरे मेरे को पूछे, मैं ले रहा हूँ. He took the mala, put it around his neck. Side में there was a shisha. He looked at it and said, smart लग रहा है. Then he went to the hostel. He had mala in another hand, bottle in another hand. And he said, ISKCON join हो गया हूँ मैं. एक हफ्ता लगा बोतल लेने उससे, माला लेने के लिए. After that, I tried my best, but impossible. So recently, when 2018 or 19, I was in London. I was doing a get-together of some of my IIT hostel friends and all that. So this guy was in London. So I told the organizer, अरे इसको ही बुलाओ. But he didn't come. So I said, why he didn't come? So we called him. यार क्यों नहीं आए? बोले यार नशे में हूँ. अभी स्वामी हो आप, आपके सामने अच्छा नहीं लगता है. So nothing changed for so many years. So don't assume that automatically your habits will change. So therefore, Patanjali defines habits are defined as memory of previous experience of pleasure. So memory of previous experience of pleasure. So if you have been given the opportunity for satsang, for practicing principles, for chanting, coming to dham, this is a very high degree of fortune. Don't take it for granted. So in the initial years when we did college preaching, I cannot recollect where I gave program for more than 8 to 10 people ever, for years together. Right, so it was always a struggle. And I cannot recollect in any program where I did program where I was welcomed by the college management or the hostel management or whatever. Nowadays we have devotees who do program for the faculty, and faculty is chanting 16 rounds and this and that. It's all a different level of advancement. So therefore, Krishna consciousness has spread very positively in Mumbai and other places across India over the last 20 years, which is a very excellent sign. And when I look at this whole army of enthusiastic devotees sitting here, it's a luxury. When I began preaching, it was unheard of. I would not even know whether somebody would come or not. I remember this college next to our Chopadi temple, Hinduja College. So I had gone for a one-time program in 96. So when I went inside, first of all, as soon as I entered the gully, I saw the whole college was standing there. I said, अरे कॉलेज छूट गया क्या? बोले नहीं, कॉलेज अभी स्टार्ट हुआ है. बोले सब लोग यहाँ क्यों हैं? बोले इसलिए तो यहाँ हैं. Because we don't attend class. They just do time pass there. So then I entered inside, and then there was supposed to be auditorium, big auditorium, 500-seater auditorium. I went inside, there was nobody. So they set up the mic system and everything, and program was supposed to start. Nobody still came. The organizer was a devotee, and he was struggling to get somebody. And by seeing his anxiety, I was feeling more compassion. I said, अरे कोई आए नहीं आए तुम बैठ जाओ भाई, आपको मैं सुनाऊंगा. He said, नहीं नहीं नहीं, ये मेरे इज्जत का सवाल है. So he started running here and there. So I just stood there with a mridang and started doing kirtan. Empty hall. And then gradually 1 or 2 people came in, sat down, and then over the next 15-20 minutes, almost 20-30 people came. And the program happened, and it was just a 500-seater hall, only 15-20 people came. So like that, there are so many stories of what struggles the youth preachers have gone through in the initial years. So the nature of struggle will change. So we had struggle getting people, but once they got connected, we did not have struggle of smartphone, of helping people get off smartphone and internet and everything. That was not there. So it was easier for people to focus. So now there are more numbers, but there are other kinds of challenges. So challenges will always remain of a different type. So therefore, I'm very happy to note that all of you are practicing Krishna consciousness sincerely and seriously. And from this pastime of Krishna killing Putana and giving her the position of mother, we should get the hope that Krishna is a personality who is waiting desperately to support us, help us, and make us successful in our efforts. And He will do everything within His power to make that endeavor successful. So when you know that there is such a support behind us, we should walk on this path of bhakti with supreme caution and supreme confidence. Confidence in Krishna and caution with respect to our making of choices. And with this, in this very lifetime itself, by the grace of His divine grace, Srila Prabhupada and the Vaishnavas, our Krishna consciousness will become successful and we'll go back home, back to Godhead. Thank you all very much. Hare Krishna.